Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are wading into waters that, well, most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid until they are absolutely forced to swim in them.
Oh, yeah.
We are talking about funerals.
Hmm.
And I know I can practically hear the fingers hovering over the skip button right now.
The ultimate taboo topic, isn't it?
It is. But stick with me because we aren't talking about casket finishes or, the price of lilies or which caterer makes the best ham sandwiches.
Right.
We are talking about a specific, very unsettling feeling that I think everyone listening has experienced, but maybe never had the vocabulary to name.
You're talking about the hollow feeling.
Exactly.
Okay.
I was thinking about this while prepping for today. You know when you leave a funeral and you feel worse?
Yes.
And I don't mean just sad. Sadness is the premium admission.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel rattled, anxious, maybe even a little angry, but you can't articulate why. You just feel off.
Yes. It's a very specific type of dissonance. It's like you walk away feeling unmoored, or like you just watched a play where all the actors forgot their lines.
Right. And then on the flip side, and these are rare, I think, you have those services where you walk out, your eyes are puffy, you're exhausted, but you feel sturdy, like your feet are back on the ground. You feel connected to the people you hugged.
You feel held.
Held.
Yeah.
That's the word. And the question we are wrestling with today is, why? What is the actual difference between those two experiences? Because usually, if we're honest, we judge a funeral by the production value.
Of course.
Was the eulogy polished? Did a lot of people show up? Was the venue nice?
And that is the fundamental error we make. We judge it as an event, like a wedding or a party. But the metrics for a good funeral have nothing to do with budget or aesthetics.
So to help us figure this out, we are diving deep into a comprehensive analysis from the funeral program site.
Yeah.
The article is titled, Why Some Funerals Feel Healing and Others Don't.
Right.
And I have to say, when I first saw the source, I thought, okay, they sell programs, they're going to tell me to buy fancy paper. But this isn't an etiquette guide.
Not at all. It's surprisingly scientific. This source material effectively treats the funeral not as a social obligation, but as a neurological intervention.
A neurological intervention.
Yeah, it looks at psychology, neurology, social dynamics, all to argue that a healing funeral is one that understands how the human brain processes trauma.
Trauma is a strong word. We usually say grief.
In the acute phase, they are often indistinguishable to the nervous system. The source posits that the difference between a healing funeral and a distressing one isn't about religion or flowers. It's about how the event interacts with a nervous system that is currently under massive attack.
Wow. The grieving nervous system. So our mission today is to decode the architecture of a healing funeral. We want to understand how specific planning decisions usually made in a total panic in a conference room with bad coffee, either support the brain or sabotage it.
Precisely. And if we can understand the mechanics, we might stop treating funerals as a performance and start treating them as what they really are, a survival tool.
Let's start with that idea of survival. You mentioned the nervous system being under attack. I think for most of us, we conceptualize grief as an emotion. I'm sad, I miss them, I cry. That's a box it lives in. But the source material suggests it's way more physical, almost primal.
We have to reframe grief entirely to understand this. The source argues that grief is a full-body neurological response.
A full-body response.
Yeah. To understand why, you have to look at how the brain is wired for attachment. We don't just like the people we love, we map our reality onto them.
What do you mean by map our reality?
Think about your daily life. Your spouse, your parent, your best friend, they are fixed points in your world.
Okay.
Your brain uses them to predict what is going to happen next. They are part of your safety architecture. They regulate your heartbeat, your stress levels, your sleep cycles even. Our nervous systems are constantly co-regulating with the people closest to us.
So when they die, it's not just that I'm missing a person, it's that the map is wrong.
The map has dissolved. The brain doesn't register the death of a significant attachment figure as just sad news.
Right.
It registers it as a threat to survival. It is a massive disruption to your sense of safety and predictability. The source explains that when someone dies, the brain's threat detection systems, specifically the amygdala, go into overdrive.
So we are walking around in fight or flight mode.
Or freeze. Think about the symptoms of acute grief. We often brush them off but list them out. Dissociation, that feeling like you're floating or like nothing is real.
Yeah, the dreamlike state.
The dreamlike state. Confusion, emotional numbness. Hypervigilance jumping when a door slams.
Mm.
Exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix.
Uh,
Memory gap.
God, the memory gaps. I remember after
Mhm.
my grandmother died, I lost my keys 3 times in 1 week. I felt like I was losing my mind.
You weren't losing your mind, you were losing your executive function. Your brain is allocating so many resources to processing the trauma, scanning the environment for threats because the baseline safety is gone. That it pulls resources away from the prefrontal cortex. That's the part that handles things like remembering where you put your keys. You aren't processing information normally, you are biologically seeking cues of safety and coherence.
It's like a computer that has 99% of its RAM dedicated to a virus scan, and you're just trying to open a spreadsheet.
That is a perfect analogy. It's just lagging. Everything is lagging.
And this is where the funeral comes in.
This is exactly where it comes in. A healing funeral is one that is designed to work with this compromised, laggy, panicked neurological reality. It recognizes that the attendees are in a state of threat, and it provides an external structure of safety.
In a bad funeral, the hollow one.
A distressing funeral inadvertently works against that reality. It introduces chaos, it lacks structure, it has emotional incongruence. And for a brain that is already panicked, that additional chaos is overwhelming. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire.
So when we go to a funeral that feels disorganized, maybe it starts late or nobody knows where to sit, we aren't just annoyed. Our brains are actually reacting to it as unsafe.
Yes, on a very deep, primal level. The brain is asking, is the world safe? Can I trust what's happening?
Wow.
If the ritual that is meant to handle the death is chaotic and unpredictable, the answer comes back, no, the world is not safe. Keep the shields up. The threat detection system cannot wind down. The mourner stays in that high alert state.
Which prevents them from actually feeling the grief.
Exactly. You can't grieve if you're busy subconsciously scanning the room for danger.
That is fascinating.
You have to calm the lizard brain so the human heart can break safely.
Calming the lizard brain so the human heart can break safely. That's a bumper sticker for funeral directors right there.
It really should be.
But I want to push back on this a little bit. If the goal is to make us feel better or safer, isn't that what we call closure? Because I hear that word constantly. I just need closure.
The C word. I was waiting for this.
It's everywhere, and it sounds great. I went to the funeral, I got closure, now I can go back to work.
Yeah.
But the source material seems to really hate this word.
It does, and for good reason. The source explicitly identifies closure as a harmful myth.
Harmful how? Isn't it good to want pain to end?
It's natural to want pain to end, of course it is. But closure implies something that isn't true about grief.
What's that?
It implies a finish line. It implies that grief is a transaction. You do the funeral, you pay the emotional toll, and the gate closes. The relationship is done. You move on.
Like healing a cut. It scabs over and then it just goes away.
But grief isn't a cut, it's an amputation. You don't heal from losing a limb in the sense that it grows back. You learn to live with the difference. The source argues that expecting closure leads to profound disappointment.
Because it's an impossible standard.
It's an impossible standard. If you walk into a funeral expecting to feel resolved by the end of the hour, you are going to leave feeling like a failure.
You'll think, why am I still sad? Did I do it wrong?
Exactly. Why do I still feel this gaping hole? The source suggests we need to abandon the pursuit of closure entirely. It's a setup. It sets you up to fail at your own grief.
Okay, but if I'm the host of this funeral and I can't promise closure, what am I promising? What are the actual pillars of a healing funeral if the goal isn't the end?
The source identifies 3 core purposes that actually help the brain. They are acknowledge reality, containment, and integration.
Let's break those down. Acknowledge reality. That feels a bit redundant. I know they're dead. That's why I'm wearing the uncomfortable shoes.
Intellectually, you know.
Oh,
Your prefrontal cortex knows.
right.
But biologically, deep in the limbic system, a part of you is absolutely still expecting them to walk in the door. Denial is a powerful anesthetic.
It's that feeling of picking up the phone to call them and then realizing halfway through dialing.
Right. That's the cognitive dissonance. The funeral provides a communal, undeniable confirmation. Seeing the casket, hearing the words death and died, seeing the community gathered in black, it forces the brain's disparate parts to align.
It's a system-wide update.
It's a system-wide update. It says, this has happened, it is real, we all see it. It pierces the denial bubble.
So it's a reality check for the collective group. Okay, the second one. Containment. This sounds clinical, almost like nuclear waste disposal.
It does, doesn't it? But in a psychological context, it's actually very warm. Think about the physical sensation of acute grief. It feels boundless.
Hmm.
It feels like if you start crying, you might dissolve. It feels like falling into an
It
abyss.
feels unsafe to let go because you don't know if you'll ever stop.
Exactly. So containment means providing a vessel for that emotion. A funeral says, for these 60 minutes in this specific room with these specific people, it is safe to fall apart. We
Ah,
have built a container. The walls will hold you. The schedule will hold you.
you don't have to hold yourself together because the ritual is doing the holding.
Precisely. It creates a boundary around the pain so that you can actually enter it without being destroyed by it.
That makes so much sense. And the third one, integration.
Integration is the healthy alternative to closure. Closure says leave it behind. Integration says weave it in.
Weave it in.
It's helping mourners begin the process of taking this loss, this new terrible fact, and figuring out how it fits into the ongoing story of their life.
So it's not moving on, it's moving forward with.
Yes, taking the legacy, the memory, and the reality of the absence, and stitching it into your new identity. Grief changes you. Integration is the process of figuring out who you are now on the other side of this.
So when a funeral fails, when we get that off feeling, it's usually because it failed at one of these three things.
Correct. It denied the reality maybe by being too cheerful. It failed to contain by being chaotic or unsafe. Or it blocked integration by acting like the person never existed or that the grief should be over instantly.
This leads us really well into the structure side of things, because you said containment relies on the ritual holding you. And the source makes a really big deal about the physical program, the order of service.
It does.
And I have to admit, before this, I thought of funeral programs as, well, litter.
Yeah,
You take it, you fan yourself because the church AC is broken, and then you leave it in the pew.
we all do.
But the source argues the program is a safety device.
It is a roadmap for the anxious brain. Let's go back to that threat detection concept.
Yep.
The grieving brain craves predictability because its world has just been turned upside down. The anchor is gone.
So walking into a room where you don't know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
that's not just annoying, that's a threat response.
It's terrifying on a subconscious level. Imagine sitting there. You don't know if this is going to be 20 minutes or 2 hours. You don't know if you're supposed to stand up or sit down. And here is the big one. You don't know if they're going to open the microphone.
Oh God, the open mic anxiety. I have been there. You spend the whole service sweating, thinking, is Uncle Bob going to get up and tell that inappropriate story?
Right.
Or do I have to say something? If I don't, do I look like a bad friend?
Exactly. That low-level anxiety hums in the background, consuming energy that you should be using to process your emotions. A clear order of service, a physical program you can hold in your hand, allows you to offload that executive function.
You're outsourcing the worry.
Totally. You look down, opening song, reading, eulogy, closing song, dismissal.
You know the beginning, the middle, and the end.
You know the exit strategy. And that allows the brain to stand down. It says, okay, I don't need to monitor the situation. I can just feel. It lets you be present.
It effectively outsources the thinking.
Yes, it allows you to surrender to the experience. And the source mentions specific elements of structure that are crucial. A clearly defined opening is vital.
Why the opening specifically?
You need a threshold crossing, a signal that says, we are leaving social mingling mode and entering ritual mode.
Ah, good.
Without that clear marker, maybe music starting, or the officiant standing up and saying, please be seated, it feels like a sad party that just sort of drifts into a sermon. It's disorienting.
It creates that awkward, are we starting murmur.
Which breaks the containment, it leaks the energy out of the room, and just as important is the defined conclusion, the release.
The source calls it releasing people back to the world.
You cannot just leave people hanging in the deep end of the emotional pool. You have to guide them back to the shallow end. A clear dismissal. Go in peace. Or, please join us for a reception. Signals that the heavy lifting of the ritual is done for now.
It's a safety release valve.
It is. It says, okay, you can put your social mask back on now. The sacred time is over.
It's masterful when you think about it.
Yeah.
We think of boring structure, but it's actually emotional architecture.
Architecture is the right word. You are building a house for grief to live in for an hour. If the house has no walls, the roof falls in.
But here is the tension, right? You can have a perfect structure. You can have the most beautiful, heavy cardstock program with gold leaf font. The timeline is tight. And yet, the funeral can still suck.
Right.
It can feel cold. It can feel fake.
This is the performance trap.
The source talks about this pressure to make the funeral nice or impressive. And I feel like social media has weaponized
Oh,
this.
absolutely.
We want the aesthetic to be right. We want the celebration of life to look like a Pinterest board.
We do. We worry about judgment. Will people think we didn't spend enough money? Will they think we aren't sad enough? Or will they think we are too messy? So we polish everything. We scrub the edges.
And the source says, style matters far less than meaning. A lavish funeral can feel empty. A simple one can be profound. But how do you actually achieve meaning? That sounds like a greeting card sentiment.
It comes down to one word: specificity. Healing comes from specificity.
Give me an example. What does a specific funeral look like versus a generic one?
A generic funeral, and we've all been to these, deals in platitudes. The eulogy says things like, he was a nice man, he loved his family, he will be missed, he would give you the shirt off his back.
There's a shirt off his back guy. He's at every funeral.
Right, and it's not that it's untrue, it's just that it could apply to 90% of the population. It minimizes the reality of the specific loss because it doesn't describe the specific hole left in the universe. It feels like you're mourning a stock photo.
So what's the antidote?
Messy truth. A specific healing eulogy tells a story about how he used to burn the toast every morning and laugh about it.
Yeah.
Or how he hated the color blue. It plays the music he actually listened to, even if it's weird heavy metal or a silly cartoon theme song, rather than just playing Amazing Grace, because that's the default setting.
I went to a funeral once where they played a recording of the deceased answering machine message. It was so lo-fi, just his voice saying, leave a message, I'm probably fishing, but the whole room broke. It was electric.
That is profound. That is an anchor to reality. It cuts
Wow.
through the numbness and connects everyone to the human being they lost, the actual human. But that requires bravery.
Right, bravery.
Because it feels risky. We are afraid that if we are too real, it might be embarrassing or it might hurt too much. The source talks about the pressure on speakers to be polished and suppress emotion.
Oh, yeah.
We feel like if we cry during the eulogy, we have failed.
Oh, absolutely. I have to be strong for Mom. I have to get through this without breaking down.
But the source argues the opposite. The emotion is the eulogy. Grief requires honesty, not a show. If the family is up there stifling every sob, biting their lips to look composed, it sends a signal to the room via mirror neurons.
Mirror neurons.
Yes. We are social animals. We mimic the emotional state of the leaders in the room. If the family signals it is not safe to feel here, we must control ourselves, the whole room tightens up. The containment fails.
So by trying to be strong, you're actually robbing everyone else of the chance to grieve.
You are sealing the container shut. Whereas if a speaker breaks down, pauses, takes a breath, maybe even laughs through the tears, that models the reality of the loss.
It gives permission.
It grants permission to everyone else to feel what they're feeling.
That's a huge reframe. Breaking down isn't a malfunction, it's the function. But what about the other extreme? The no sadness allowed trend.
Toxic positivity.
I've seen invitations that literally say, no black clothes, no crying, only happy memories. This is a party.
It's a very common modern reaction to the pain of loss. We are a culture that is allergic to negativity. We want to skip the sad part and get straight to the gratitude. Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened.
It sounds nice on a throw pillow, but at a funeral.
At a funeral, it can be devastating. If you enforce positivity, you are essentially gaslighting the mourners. You are telling them to leave their reality at the door.
Yeah.
Because the reality is they are sad. They are devastated. If the ritual doesn't have space for that, they feel unseen. Their grief is invalidated.
It's like telling someone with a broken leg to just walk it off and smile.
Exactly. A healing funeral allows joy and sorrow to coexist. This is the key. You can tell a funny story that makes everyone laugh and then 5 minutes later sob over the loss. That oscillation is the full human experience. Grief is not a problem to be fixed or hidden. It's an experience to be honored.
So we've got structure and we've got authenticity. Now I want to get into the nuts and bolts, the mechanics, because the source brings up some things that seem small but apparently have huge neurological impacts.
The mechanics of ritual, yes.
Yeah. The source mentions that rituals act as thresholds. They tell the brain, something irreversible has happened, a new reality is starting, and it lists specific actions: viewing the body, lighting candles, placing flowers on the casket. Why do we need the props? Why can't we just sit and think?
Because we are embodied creatures. We don't just learn with our minds, we learn with our hands and eyes. This is embodied cognition.
Embodied cognition. Break that down for me.
It means our thoughts are influenced by our physical actions. When you physically stand up, walk to a casket, and place a flower on it, you are enacting letting go. Your body is performing the separation that sends a much, much stronger signal to the brain than just thinking, I should let go.
And the body. Seeing the body. That's a controversial one these days. A lot of people find it morbid. I want to remember them as they were.
That is a very common sentiment. And of course, trauma considerations apply if the death was violent.
Hmm.
But in general, the source argues that viewing the body is one of the most powerful ways to cut through denial.
Because you can't argue with it.
You cannot argue with it. The primitive brain can spin elaborate fantasies that mom is just on vacation.
Right.
But when the visual cortex sees the stillness of the body or the undeniable absence of life, that loop is broken. It hurts. It hurts terribly, but it allows the integration process to begin. It forces reality into the system.
The source mentions the consequence of absence. If we skip these rituals, if we just do a quick memorial with a photo 2 months later, the brain struggles to register finality.
It leads to prolonged disbelief. You get stuck in the waiting phase, which is an agonizing place to be.
This connects to language, too. The source is really strict about the words we use. It argues for hard words.
The soft words trap. We love euphemisms. Passed on, went to sleep, we lost him, transitioned, gained his wings.
I mean, we say them to be kind. Died sounds so final and harsh.
It sounds harsh because it is final, and that is exactly why we need it. The source argues that euphemisms confuse the grieving brain. Especially for children, went to sleep is the worst thing you can say.
Yeah, that's a recipe for a kid who is terrified of bedtime.
But even for adults, soft language creates a fog. It keeps the reality at arm's length. The source argues that saying died or death is grounding.
Grounding.
It's like the difference between standing on a cloud and standing on a rock. The rock is hard, it might scrape you, but it's solid. You can build on it. You can't build on a cloud.
That's a great image. We need the rock of reality, even if it's cold.
And then there are the keepsakes, the programs, the prayer cards, the guest book. Again, things I usually throw in a junk drawer, but the source calls them anchors for fragmented memory.
Anchors.
Remember the memory gaps we talked about? The amnesia of grief?
Right. The lost keys.
The lost keys.
Yeah.
You might attend a funeral and 2 weeks later truly not remember who you spoke to or what was said. You were in a trance. The physical item, the program you held in your hand, serves as forensic evidence.
Huh. Forensic evidence.
It is. You find it 6 months later and it proves, I was there. This happened. We did this.
It validates the timeline.
It provides continuity when your internal memory fails. It's a touchstone for the reality of the event, holding the memory for you until you're ready to hold it yourself.
I want to shift gears to something that causes probably the most stress for people planning these things, logistics. But specifically, the psychology of logistics.
Logistical nightmare.
The source talks about timing. Is there actually a right time to have a funeral?
The Goldilocks window. It's not about a specific number of days, but a psychological state. The source warns against two extremes. First, the rush.
The let's get it over with approach.
This is driven by high anxiety. I can't stand this pain. Let's do the funeral on Tuesday so I can be normal by Thursday. But if you rush it, say, within 24 to 48 hours, you are often operating purely on adrenaline and shock.
You haven't even landed yet.
You're in the triage phase. The funeral becomes a blur of logistical stress catering, flights, clothes, rather than an emotional container. You survive the funeral, but you don't experience it.
And the other extreme, waiting too long.
If you wait months, unless there is a compelling reason, like scattered family, you lose emotional immediacy. The community's support wave has receded. People have gone back to their normal lives. The funeral can feel like an interruption or an afterthought.
And it drags the family back into the deep water just when they were learning to tread.
Exactly. The sweet spot is when the initial shock has absorbed slightly, the logistics have stabilized, but the community is still mobilized in support. You want to be out of pure panic, but still in active grief.
Now, the elephant in the room. The thing that ruins more funerals than bad catering.
Oh boy.
Family dynamics.
The uninvited guest at every service.
Source says, funerals don't happen in a vacuum. Which is the polite way of saying funerals are where 20 years of resentment come to party.
It is a pressure cooker. You have high emotion, exhaustion, grief, free-flowing alcohol often, and the looming shadow of inheritance or money. It is a perfect storm for conflict.
And the source warns about using the funeral as an arena.
People often subconsciously try to resolve the relationship history through the funeral planning.
Oh, yeah.
Mom loved me more, so I should choose the songs. He hated you, so you don't get to speak.
The power plays.
The power plays. And this is where the source emphasizes inclusion as a key to healing. This is vital. If someone feels erased at a funeral, left out of the obituary, not mentioned in the eulogy, barred from the family seating area, it compounds their grief with trauma.
Wow.
This is called disenfranchised grief.
It's a public statement that says your loss doesn't count.
Exactly. And that wound can last for decades. The fix, according to the source, is clear boundaries. The funeral is not the place to litigate the past. It is the place to honor the deceased.
So even if you hate your brother, you let him sit in the front row.
For those 2 hours, yes. You don't have to invite him to dinner afterwards.
Right.
But you acknowledge his loss in the ritual. He is survived by his children. Name them. It costs nothing to be inclusive in the text, but it costs everything to leave someone out.
We're coming into the final stretch, and I want to address a massive cultural shift. The I don't want a funeral trend.
Minimalism as avoidance.
I hear this constantly. Just cremate me, scatter my ashes. I don't want to fuss. I don't want people crying over me. Save the money.
It's the cool girl approach to death. I'm so low maintenance, I don't even need a funeral.
Right. And it's usually presented as humility or looking out for the family. I don't want to burden them.
But the source argues that this is actually a misunderstanding of what a funeral is for.
Because the funeral isn't for the dead person.
No. The dead person is gone. The funeral is for the living. It is for the community left behind. If you say no service, you are effectively denying your loved ones the primary tool they have to process your loss.
You're taking away their container.
You're leaving them holding the bag. You are. The risk of skipping rituals entirely is that it leads to a sense of unfinished business. The grief remains uncontained because there was no communal acknowledgement. The family is left to process this massive event in isolation, usually while sitting on the couch watching TV. There is no punctuation mark.
It's a sentence that just runs on forever.
Exactly. So even if you are humble, even if you hate the spotlight, allow your family to have something. A dinner, a toast, a gathering. Give them a place to put their grief down together.
That's a really important perspective. It's an act of generosity to let people mourn you.
It is. It's a final gift.
Lastly, spiritual alignment. The source touches on this. It says it doesn't matter if it's religious or secular, but it must align.
Authenticity again. If the person was a devout Catholic and the family does a generic secular service to be modern, it feels hollow.
Right?
If the person was a militant atheist and the family brings in a priest to save his soul, it feels like a violation.
Feels like you're burying a stranger.
It creates cognitive dissonance. The words spoken must resonate with the life lived. If there is a mismatch, the brain rejects the ritual as fake, and if it's fake, it's not safe. And if it's not safe, you can't grieve.
It all comes back to safety.
It really does. Neurological safety.
So we've covered neurology, the myth of closure, the need for structure, the power of specificity, the dangers of toxic positivity, and the family politics. It's a lot, but it really paints a picture of why this is so hard to get right, but so powerful when you do.
It's a delicate balance. It's art, science, and empathy all rolled into one.
I want to wrap up by summarizing the formula the source gives us. If you are planning a funeral, or if you are unfortunately likely to be planning one soon, here's the checklist for a healing event. Let's run through them.
Number 1, acknowledge reality. Don't hide from the death. Use real words. See the body if you can.
Okay.
Number 2, provide structure. Give the anxious brain a roadmap, a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Right.
Number 3, honor, meaning be specific, even if it's messy. Avoid platitudes. Tell the real story.
Number 4, allow emotion. Create a container where it is safe to fall apart. Don't demand positivity.
And the last one.
Number 5, support connection. Make people feel included and seen. Don't let family politics erase someone's grief.
That's the recipe. If you hit those 5 notes, you are giving the brain what it needs to start the integration process.
You are building a solid foundation for the grief to stand on.
And there's one final concept from the source that I found incredibly moving, the witnessing factor. The source says, funerals don't heal grief. People do. But the funeral allows the pain to be witnessed.
This is the deepest insight of all. We are social animals. Suffering in silence is traumatizing. It leads to despair. But suffering while being seen, while being held in the benevolent gaze of your community, is transformative.
It transforms the pain into something else.
It validates it. When you stand there and cry and 50 other people see you and don't look away, that tells your primal brain, I am not alone. I am not abandoned. My pain matters to the tribe.
My pain matters. That's huge. Being witnessed fully and honestly is one of the most healing experiences a human can have. It makes the mourner feel less alone in the experience. That is what the funeral is for. It is a mechanism for collective witnessing.
It really shifts the perspective. If we view funerals not as an obligation to the dead like paying a final tax bill, but as a neurological safety net for the living, how does that change the way we plan them?
It changes everything. It means we stop worrying about the tablecloths and start worrying about the honesty. It means we stop trying to fix the sadness and start trying to hold it.
Perhaps the perfect funeral isn't the one that looks the best on Instagram. Maybe the perfect funeral is the one that feels the most honest, the one where you cry ugly tears, hear a real story about burnt toast, and leave feeling like you were standing on solid ground again.
I couldn't agree more. It's about integration, not closure.
Integration, not closure. I think that's the thought to leave everyone with today. Next time you find yourself in that hard position of planning a service or just attending one, look for the anchors. Look for the honesty. And let yourself be witnessed.
And be a witness for others. Don't look away.
Thank you for diving deep with us today on a tough but essential topic.
Thank you.
Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you on the next deep dive.